When you start your business, no one ever prepares you for what's in store. So finding someone else who just gets it is sometimes the thing that can keep you pushing toward that big business goal.
We're turning our Zoom coffee chats into a weekly, unfiltered podcast for online business owners. They were so good, we always wanted to record them and repurpose them for content anyways. And that's on being a social media manager.
I'm Jessica Sheehy.
And I'm Madeleine Digan, and this is
#managed. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of #managed. I'm really excited because Madeleine and I are finally joined by Harmony. When I was out over the summer, you two recorded an episode together and I had major FOMO, so here we are doing it, all three of us. So I'm super excited about that.
Me too. Hi, guys.
All right. Well, I wanted to share something really quickly for my weekend thoughts because I actually had something kind of crazy to me happen on Saturday. And crazy might be like an overstatement, but I have to get both of your opinions on this. So I feel like this is also really timely because we also just had our networking episode here on the podcast a couple episodes back. So if you haven't listened to that, go listen to it now. But I RSVP'd for a networking event here in St. Pete on Saturday morning, and it was a free full day women in business festival is kind of how they were promoting it. It was the main sponsor of the event was a major radio station in the area. And so it just looked really cool. Also, admission was free. I feel like that's something that I need to add as well. And so I RSVP'd to go. Another team member, Brianna on Team Social Savvy, her and I were going to meet each other there. And so I went to a workout class that morning and I was just running completely late at getting ready and, after the class, like showering and driving down to where it's at. And so anyway, I'm like trying to find parking. I'm like almost there. I'm like a minute or two away. And Brianna's like, hey, I just pulled in and they're like asking me what event am I coming to? And they have no idea about it. And I'm like, okay, it's definitely at this location. Because she's like, did we get the wrong location? Did we get the day wrong? Like, are we wrong on the times? And so we double checked everything. They sent out a lot of things on social media. They sent out an email, kind of your like, not an e-ticket because it was like a free admission to a festival, but it was kind of like, here's your details for your event today. Literally an hour and a half before that moment. And so I'm like, I'm so confused. So I'm like texting her. I'm like, I'm walking there. I'll be there in like 2 minutes. So we get there and we're starting to like walk up to the event location, ghost town. No one else is like in that like immediate parking lot. No one's in the building. There's no signs. Absolutely crazy. And I'm immediately, her and I are like, are we honestly like being punked? Because no one else was there like looking for where the event was. We were maybe, so it was a 10 to 6 event, kind of like a, like a festival or a market or something, that's the time frame, right? So we're 10:30. And I'm like, no one else is coming here to try to find like where the event is. So I'm like, did we miss the communication that it was canceled or postponed? And so we both like kind of checked our emails and we both literally showed each other the email at the same time that was at like 9 a.m. It was like, hey, your event today, here's all the details. And so I'm like, why would they send you that email if it's going on? So anyway, we're there. We were probably standing outside for maybe like 10, 15 minutes. It was really hot out. So we were like, okay, at one point we honestly just have to go like back into our cars in the AC. And we're like comparing. They had everything was still up on the website that the event was happening. All of the social posts were up, especially on the radio station's social media, which has a really big following too, right? And we start DMing and asking questions and emailing and all of that. And I don't think we got a response back until either like I think Saturday, like that night, like late at night, I think someone DM'd Brianna back and was like, oh yeah, it's not happening. And we're like, well, obviously, like we were there. So
oh my gosh.
It was so crazy. And so we didn't, I think until, I don't know if it was Sunday or if it was even sometime on Monday, but we saw in a Facebook group, not even like that was connected to like one of the groups that were like putting the event on. They shared that due to like different circumstances or I think the cost, like the vendor fee for like the vendors coming or something, it just didn't work out. And we're like, this is something that was posted days after the scheduled event, nothing prior, but it was just so bizarre. And also too, like, I know it's free, and I know there's the difference, right, between paying for something that's, or going to something free and paying for something. So I'm wondering, like, did no one RSVP? Like, it was just so bizarre. And I'm like, what the heck? This was supposed to be complete opposite, like, networking, like, just not even that, just like connecting and like learning more about like women owned businesses like in the area. And it was absolutely crazy. So a whole weekend thought that I had was, so many people put an emphasis on like marketing, right? Like getting more people to come and sharing about their event and things like that. Where I feel like sometimes marketers and even like business owners forget that like you also have to be like a customer service role. You
Mm.
have to be there for when things go wrong, when events get canceled, when all these things happen. And I'm like, to me, that's really important marketing as well, because now here I am, like, I was going to join that group that was hosting this festival, and now like I want nothing to do with it. I don't want to give them any of my money. Like, I don't want to be a part of it. Not because it was canceled or postponed, because that happens, like life happens, but there was nothing about it. And it was just kind of like gone through like the whole wrong way. So that's my weekend thought slash mini vent session. So thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Like, and the fact that there was like no social media posts, like, that's just
Nothing.
a quick, like, hey, like, nope,
Yeah.
not. And the fact that you guys got an email confirmation an hour or so before, like, it's not a good look. Not a good
No.
look.
No. I'm like, you don't even need to make anything branded in Canva. Like, open up stories, use those text boxes, like, just get it out there. It was crazy. So that was my weekend slash big vent session all in one. So hopefully you guys have like more positive weekend thoughts than that.
Oh my
Um,
gosh.
okay, well, no, mine are just, that was so beautifully told too. Mine are just like so random. So for one, okay, first thought. Did you guys know that Giselle, aka Tom Brady's ex-wife, is in The Devil Wears Prada?
What?
Thank you, Harmony. I loved Harmony's because same. So I
She's the mean
decided,
girl.
yes, like, or not like the main mean girl, but like she like is like the mean girl's like sidekick type of
The
thing.
Irish Spiller?
Oh.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Wow. Wait, that was like a
So
moment.
so I would say today years old, but like this past weekend, I was just like, wait. And so I paused it and went into the other room and asked Bernard, I go, this is Giselle, right? Like, this is Tom Brady's ex wife. And he was like, yeah. And I was like, this is, and because Brennan then was like, why is she in this movie? And I was like, this is actually so smart that they did have her in a role like this, where it wasn't a main character, but I was like, her role became 10 times funnier to me because she's like an actual model and she's like in this world, but being like an assistant or whatever her role was. So anyways, so that led to, so as I was watching the movie, I was like doing other chores and um other things like that, but then I spiraled and was like, again, don't ask me how or where I get these thoughts, but I was just like reflecting on the fact that my bedroom right now is where I record hashtag manage, well, not today, like I'm sitting out like in this little nook thing, but it made me, because I know we're not going to get into our weekly reports today, which we'll get into that, but I will say that I've been listening to Call Her Daddy, and I've been listening to some of the OG videos that I like, where that I hadn't listened to when Alex first got started, and it's just a full circle moment where I'm like, that's going to be us. Like, that will be us. Like, I have zero doubts in my mind that we will not like have our own studio one day, that we won't go on tour one day. And so that was my second thought, was like, we will have a studio one day.
all because I was watching a movie in my bedroom. And then my third thing is Substack. I just wrote Substack, and I think that was because I'm really wanting to get into researching Substack, like for myself, for even the podcast. But yeah, and those are Madeleine's weekend thoughts.
I love those. A big range from one
Yeah,
to the other.
Yep,
I
sure
love that
was.
yours are always so like structured, and like here I am like pulling things from my notes app, trying to like figure out what any of this means.
I don't know if that was that structured though. I don't know.
It came off that way, so
Okay, we're gonna go with that.
Okay, so mine are you'll see a theme, but it's wedding week, so they're all in correlation. Okay, so I have like the most random thoughts, but one is these are pulled directly from my notes app too, so it's just
I love this.
it's a collage here. Is hair less volume? Definitely. You look like hairspray. Literally wrote that exact thing. And then I just have, what if we got a canoe for beverages?
Cute. I've
I
seen that
love
on
that idea.
Pinterest. I've seen that on
Yeah.
Pinterest.
And my last thought is, why don't they always board airplanes from the back to the front?
Yes.
Why?
I think that every time I'm getting on a plane, like
Mhm.
no one's thought about that. And I feel like it always comes down to like the point is, I know, to get like the first class and like the people on, but like I also think there's been times where, and I can't remember specifically like where we were, and it's interesting, but I remember a couple summers ago when we were in Greece, we boarded a plane, and I'm pretty sure they boarded like the front and the back, like
Oh yeah, no,
coming
in Europe,
at the same
yeah,
time.
yeah, they
But
do that.
It's weird, but it makes sense and it works. But I always think like, why could we not do that here? Like, it makes me like concerned for like, I don't know if it's like the system they have here or just like people couldn't figure it out, but it would be much more efficient to do back to front.
I also, if I were flying first class, which I will one day, like I personally feel like I would rather everybody gets on and then I get on, because like let's say we're a high profile person who still like you fly commercial. Like, yeah, like I don't want people like stopping and being like, "Oh, hi." Well, that I would actually really like that, but
Yeah.
you know what I mean.
Point though, why isn't first class in the back? Because you know how like all the cool kids sit on the back of the bus? Like why don't we like sit on the back if you're like so of status? And isn't like the back like supposedly safer or something?
I
You
think so. Because
Yeah.
isn't that why they like want like kids like in the back? Like I know, where was I boarding? I was choosing seats on a plane, and they were like, this was like the kids section almost. Which I know, if you were like what is it, like unaccompanied minor, like I know that's where like they would seat them, but it was almost funny. It was like, is that where like all kids or families with small kids are supposed to sit? But maybe it's because of the whole, where's the more safer spot. But there's nothing worse than like getting on the plane first, because then you have to wait for the entire like entire plane to board, and that takes forever, and you're just sitting there. Like, at what point, like, are you doing anything? You're just probably randomly scrolling your phone. You're like, okay, did I download this like Netflix show? Like, do I have like everything, like Spotify downloaded, like ready to go? But yeah, that's a good weekend thought. And I have to say, your weekend thought about your hair, I know wedding hair, is my thought every time I go get a blowout, because I always tell them, do not give me all of this crazy volume, because I don't need it. I have way too much hair.
Yeah, I do too. Even when I like did my wedding hair trial, and I saw myself, because now I feel like we're used to the slick back look too, and so I saw it on myself, and I'm not sure.
Yeah, there's a lot of interesting ways that I feel like, isn't it interesting how like trends come in and trends come out so quickly. The one thing which I think is so funny, because I think right now, Madeline, you and I both have it. Like, I've been seeing on my For You page is like straight hair is in. A part of me thinks like, when did it go out? Because that's what I'd love to know. Like, I'm sorry, no one told me that I was not
But
trendy.
also tell me why literally this morning, so my hair's straight right now. My hair is naturally so straight. I would wear my hair straight in high school, but then I personally prefer my hair curled, but for whatever reason this morning because I feel like I styled it pretty well, and I was like, maybe I'm in my straight girl era, like straight hair era.
Oh, that's definitely being clipped out of context.
Oh my god.
Yeah. I'm dead.
Oh, that was so funny.
So I'm in my straight hair era.
Oh my gosh. That's so funny. All right.
Oh.
Well, like Madeline said, we are going to be skipping our weekly reports for this episode. So you'll have to tune in to the Social Club newsletter to see what's on our weekly reports. And I have to say, I'm not even going to say anything. I'll just send mine over to Madeline. But I don't know. I feel like mine's really good. So all that to say, subscribe to the
Same.
newsletter if you haven't. And that's also a really good reminder for me. I just wrote this note down that we have the add yours on Instagram stories for the weekly report. And as I was doing mine, I was like, I have not posted that in weeks. So, good little reminder for myself to actually post my weekly report on stories, especially because I'm really excited about this one. I feel like I finally have really good things from, start to finish. So, subscribe to the Social Club newsletter if you want to see what's on my report, see what's on Harmony's, and see what's on Madeline's. And we'll be back next week with getting into those. We just have a really full episode, so we want to make sure we can get through everything since there's now 3 of us on the podcast. So, Madeline, do you want to kick us off with this week's water cooler?
Yes, this week they say, I have a new client who wants to hide her likes on Instagram. She's just returning from being off Instagram for a year. I have recommended she not hide likes, but she may insist. Has anyone had a decline in views and engagement by hiding likes or any other metric?
I feel like this is such a hot take. You either are for hiding likes or you're against it.
What are you?
So I'm for it. I don't so that being said, I don't purposely go and hide likes if a post has really, really low engagement. I on my accounts, I'm hiding likes no matter what because I don't really care. I feel like when I'm looking at content, I don't really need to see what has like, you know, thousands and thousands or hundreds of thousands of likes from like brands I'm following or whatnot. Like, I'm more in the comments, and I feel like that's one thing that like TikTok has really shaped like how I'm like consuming social media content. I'm reading the comments. I want to know what people are saying. Like, are they agreeing? Are they disagreeing? So I'm gonna do that over on Instagram anyway. And so we've been hiding likes honestly for maybe the past couple of years on our social savvy accounts. So that being said, we don't always do it for like our client accounts. I don't really know if any of our clients have any specific thoughts around, do they want to hide them? Do they not want to hide them? Again, I feel like maybe it falls under the boat that, at the end of the day, they don't really care. So I've never seen in my experience a decline in engagement because something is being hidden. I think first and foremost, it's always coming down to that particular piece of content. And you just have to look at your profile and see what type of content does really well and what doesn't, because that is a clear indicator of honestly what your audience wants. And I think it's so funny. There's so many times where I see people talk about these specifics, or they get so caught up in hashtag use or content pillars or so many different things, which at the end of the day, our audience could care less about any of those things. Now, are those all important to build a social media strategy? Absolutely. But at the end of the day, it all comes down to good content. And I think that's what's going to be the difference between that engagement metric being higher or not. and not, so in my opinion, I don't think it's something that affects engagement. I haven't seen it. If you hide likes and see low engagement, I wouldn't immediately go back to putting the likes, shown on the content. I would really just look at your content strategy first and foremost. What do you guys think?
I agree with all of that. I like though seeing the shares now on Instagram because to me, I really don't care about likes at all, similar to what you said. But to me, I do like getting to see other brand, like the shares, because to me that like if a post is getting shared, that tells you it really resonated, with your audience. And I think it's just one of those things where I've pointed this out to my friends who use social media the normal way and aren't like always thinking of it in a marketing way. And since pointing that out to them, where I'm like, because I've told them, I'm like, you don't have to like my stuff, but I'm like, if anything ever is like funny or resonates, yeah, please share it. Like, because like that social media manager is gonna thank you. Like that is the nicest way you can applaud a social media manager.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Yeah. Oh, did you guys know that you could hide that share count number on Instagram?
I did. But see, I love it.
Yeah. Like, why would people want to hide that?
Right. Yeah.
And I feel like that's like the new likes.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like even how I consume content now, I don't know that I ever look at the likes ever anymore. I feel like I'm always comments or shares, like you said. And except this is maybe really niche, but do you ever have something that shows up on your TikTok For You page and it's just the most random thing? It doesn't fit you at all. And there's like one like, but you never want to be the first one because it's just some random person. But I always get myself in that mindset and I'm like, why? Like, why are we still in that zone? It doesn't matter. It doesn't, it shouldn't affect the way you consume the content in the long run.
Yeah.
So I don't think it has really an effect. And I feel like even though I post on my personal page once a year, I still am in the habit of going to that hide likes button every time, even on our different like client pages and everything. But I don't think it has like an impact in the long game.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it's more like, this will be my last comment on the like, but even just the like button in general. I forget what documentary it was, but I know you both have probably seen it. But it was taught like the guy who even invented like the like button, and just isn't that crazy where at one point the like button wasn't even a thing with social media, and just how like mentally, especially for young kids, like how that has affected young minds' mental health. And I think so with that being, if we're going to talk about it on a mental health perspective, like I do think hiding your likes is, especially if you know that about yourself. I'm not saying that's any of us, but to any of our listeners, like at the end of the day, it's literally like that does not determine your worth. Like the amount of likes, the amount of shares, the amount of saves, it's an algorithm. And I think I get in my head, but me not refreshing like the meme that I posted yesterday to like, cause I'm like, these are gold. These are so funny. I'm funny. But it's just one of those things where I'm like refreshing. I'm like, why doesn't it have more shares?
Yeah.
But
yeah, that's funny. That reminds me, this is super random, but do you guys remember on Facebook when you used to be able to like poke people? Like, it makes me think
It's
of
back.
that.
It is back, yeah.
Is it? Oh my gosh. I spend like
all the time.
No time on Facebook, but wait, now I need to like go poke people. But but it's one of those things where it's so funny that like sometimes we get so caught up. Like I feel like if it's Instagram, it's caught up on the likes, and if it's TikTok, it's caught up on the views. So it's like every platform has its own like its own metric that someone is really like going after. And so yeah, it's one thing. I think it's always depends on like what the conversation's for. Like you said, is it more of like a mental health for like younger generations who are like using social media for real social media use, or is it a business who's using it as a marketing tool? And I think that's where it can get a little bit more specific to, at the end of the day, the likes don't matter. Like, what's that really corny saying? It's like, likes don't pay the bills, likes don't
Yep.
bring in revenue. Like, they really, really don't. You know, there's so many businesses who are making so much money and they have a terrible Instagram presence. And I said what I said, but like, that definitely exists because it's just one piece in their puzzle. And I think that's where my whole conversation is always around like, if a client is so obsessed with the likes or obsessed with a metric like that, there's probably way more things going on behind the scenes that they really need to care about
Mm-hmm.
versus Instagram, which is so, so surface level. And, you know, I know they say the funnel is no longer a funnel, but anyway, I'm still going to say like top of the funnel.
Yeah.
So I feel like there's a lot of thoughts around that. So I thought that was a good water cooler just to talk around something that seems so simple, but I think it's a question that I know this was pulled directly from our hashtag managed collective Facebook community. So feel free to join that if you guys aren't a member yet. But I see that something like this pretty frequently, like if not every other day, at least every week. So definitely wanted to kind of pull that in. And now, should we talk about what's on our feeds? I feel
Yeah.
like my feed is filled with New York Fashion Week
Mm.
content, and I'm here for it. I feel like there's so many interesting things. It's just, I love, like, I'm not like directly a part of that world, right? I'm not in like the beauty or like the fashion space or anything, but I love seeing everything that comes together. I love the like little drama that I can hear like from people's content or TikTok story times like around one show or something. But I also really love like the brand activations during New York Fashion Week. You know, it's such a time where there's so many things going on in the city, and so many brands are like coming to life and doing pop-ups and doing different things, and I feel like it's so fun. But I wanted to really call out Poppy World because I feel like their pop-up activation that happened is really, really fun. And so they put together like an after party for some show, and I can't even remember what show it was. That shows you how disconnected I am from the actual realness of fashion world. And so I just thought it was one of those things that they had a party, obviously, with the new, is it, and I might butcher the exact name, but is it like cherry cola is their new
Mm.
flavor that's coming out or has already come out. And so it's promoting that. They had a musical guest with 50 Cent. And I'm like, this thing could not be like even more random, but it works. And it's very, it's very branded. And that's the one thing that I love about Fashion Week. I feel like any brand activation or influencer event or anything going on is just really thought out, really creative. And I just feel like there's so much that we can learn like from that as like marketers and small brands. So if you're not into Fashion Week or any of that, like go look at the hashtags on Instagram and on TikTok because you can get just a lot of great creativity from everything going on Fashion Week.
Wait, I have one comment I want to say about Fashion Week real quick. Because so I went to college with a girl who is a beauty editor for Cosmo. I also plan on reaching out to her because I want her to be on the podcast. But she's at New York Fashion Week right now, and I love living through her. But like, how do I get that job? I want that job.
Yeah. It's definitely like a really crazy time. I would say too the other thing type of content that I've been consuming is Love Shack Fancy is doing their like
Mm.
first ever show, and I love their like behind the scenes approach because I feel
Mm-hmm.
like not so many people talk about okay, behind the scenes content is so important, but when we think about it, the behind the scenes content that brands put out is super super curated. So I
So,
actually really liked her, and I think is her name Rebecca, the CEO of Love Shack Fancy. I feel like it's Rebecca. I hope I'm not butchering it or making it up, but I liked in her videos, she was just very authentic, like talking about like what she knew was going on and then leaning on like her team or whoever else was in the videos to really say like, okay, this is where we're like doing the show and here's what we did for the marketing part of it. And so I think that's just another great thing that comes from Fashion Week is it's a big time for content. And I think as social media marketers, we love that. So so yeah, that's what's on my feed. What's on your feeds? I don't know which one of you wants to go first, but I'm excited to hear what's on your feeds.
You want to go first?
Okay. So, mom talk, and I mean the Mormon wives, is all on my feed. And funny enough, that's not what I put on my playing report this week. Like I already said, because I haven't watched it yet. But here I am consuming everything. I feel like I've gotten some spoilers, but not really, because so when all of this was going on, like this happened like a few years ago, right? Like if you guys aren't aware, but like these Mormon wives like out in Utah who were swingers, and Taylor, like the main girl or whatever, she was on a podcast that I listened to. I was on listening to Cheers with Avery Woods and got some of the tea already. So when I saw that the show was coming out, I'm like, oh my gosh, like they're literally recreating some of this. And that just goes to show like this is reality TV, like it's not real. But yeah, that might be what I'm watching this weekend, but I'm living for all the TikToks, all like again, people who I'm following, like they're choosing sides are like from what I've gathered, Whitney is the villain, and to me, where just the things that I've started to learn about reality TV is like villains also can get paid more. So I'm kind of like, I'll be the villain. I'll be the villain. Just kidding. Actually, that would like destroy me. Like I don't know how these like people, you guys know me, like I'm very authentic. Like there's no, but like if somebody were to portray me as a villain, I'd be like, I would just be dead to the world. I'd be like, never mind. I'm never going out ever again. Like whatever, bye.
I feel like I'm too much of a people pleaser to be
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Same.
Like
same.
So yeah.
I love that that's on your feed because I've been seeing so many of those videos and I just feel like the comment sections are just absolutely crazy, but I haven't started that series yet, but I will definitely be binging that soon.
Yeah. After Emily in Paris, because that's back. It's back. Okay, anyways.
Is it tomorrow?
It's tomorrow, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So excited.
I know. I need to add both those to my watch list this week.
My watch list is really full. I'm way more time. And that's probably also why I'm not reading any books these days.
Yep.
I'm like still. It takes me like 3 months to finish a book. I'm like every quarter. So.
I feel maybe this year though. I feel like maybe this year, like just because you want to know what else is on my watch list. Sorry, like totally. Like now I'm just sidetracking it. But Uglies.
I
saw with Chase Stokes. So I did read that book this year. The book garbage. I didn't like it at all. So I'm like hoping the movie's better because I do like Joey King, right? That's her name. Anyways, okay, sorry. Harmony, what's on your feed?
Okay, I'm glad. I was like actually stalling because I don't know that I know how to pronounce this drink, but I'm like a week behind on TikTok, and I'm just now on the U.S. Open and the drink. Is it the honey?
Yeah. Honey, like honey juice. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That's been all over my feed, but it's like people's take on it. Like Wishbone Kitchen did her own take on it in her cookbook originally, and now she tried the drink, so she's redoing it, and everyone's putting it in recipes and all these making mocktail versions of it. But I don't love melon, but for some reason that sounds amazing, and I need to try to recreate it myself. But it's been taking up. It's been taking up all of my last brain cells left.
Yeah.
Yeah,
my feed has been full of, I feel like, US Open content too, because I feel like the other things are like Morgan Riddle who is the girlfriend of, I'm sorry, I'm going to just butcher the name, so I'm not going to say it, but I feel like you guys, if you know, you know, if you're in the TikTok wags world, and also Taylor and Travis. And so people
Oh
commenting
yeah.
on like
Oh yeah.
Taylor having a couple of like honeydeuces and then having fun, like who cares?
Let her live her
That's
life.
fabulous.
Let her live her life, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
their outfits, obsessed.
Obsessed.
I feel like she was getting a lot of hate, but it's like the same as the
No-
Emily in Paris. I
Yes.
it fit.
People clearly just don't know fashion.
Yes.
Obviously, we are fashion experts. It's fine.
Yeah.
Not over here, my Amazon t-shirt.
No, I was just
Yeah.
gonna. I was just gonna, in my basic white button down
Right.
t-shirt. Like, I know fashion.
But people are so and I think a big part of it is people are so opinionated on so many things, and like I feel like there's really nothing to call out or be mad at like Taylor and Travis for, right? So it's always like they're like grasping at straws, like, okay, what can we pull this week? And I feel like now that like football's back, like I'm sure it'll be like a constant like headline that will
Oh
keep
yeah.
like popping up, and it's just so funny. All I'm waiting for is the album that's Travis inspired to come out, because I know I'm gonna love it. It's gonna be great.
Mhm.
So that era will be fun when we're in that. So
And I love whoever is doing the TikTok for the NFL. I'm sure there are multiple people,
Mhm.
but
Oh my gosh,
they
yes.
are fantastic. Even
yeah.
of course, there's always the guys that comment, okay, but where's the actual football? And every time they'll reply to the comment and post a new video, and I think it's
Mhm.
exactly all that it needs to be.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
They definitely know what they're doing. And it's
Oh
working.
yeah.
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 Okay.
All right. Should we get into the good stuff for this episode? So if you saw the title of this episode, we are doing, I feel like we should say it's the inaugural #managed awards. So this week we wanted to do something really fun. So that's why the three of us are on here nominating our favorite brands. We have several categories. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Sorry, I didn't count before. We have 7 categories that we have kind of outlined for, the best of the best. And when it comes to social media, brands, content creators, people we love to follow. So we're going to run through, I'll read each category as we go through, and then we'll kind of share what our nominations are for each of those categories. Over the next couple weeks, we want to make it really fun and really interactive. So it's going to be kind of 2 parts. We want you guys to either nominate yourself, no shame in nominating yourself. If you're like, hey, I've got this category in the bag, nominate yourself. Or if you have a biz bestie or a favorite brand or creator or influencer or just someone that you know who would fit in this category, feel free to nominate them. And then the next part of that is we'll all vote. So that way we can see who is the winner in each of these categories. And so it's obviously 100% free to join. We're not asking for any compensation, anything like that. It's just highlighting the best of the best on social media. So to be a part of that, I think first and foremost, and probably the best way to stay in contact with #manage when we're not recording these episodes, is to subscribe to the Social Club newsletter that Madeleine works on every single week. So if you're not subscribed to that, you should, because it's a really great email. And also, we will share all of the details on how you can nominate yourself or others, and also vote when the time comes for the #managed awards. Okay, I feel like that was like all of the housekeeping. If I forgot anything, we can get to it as we get through. But let's dive into our first category. So, our first category is Best Storyteller, Instagram Story Edition. So, I'd love to know, feel free if you guys have anyone, add them in. Who would you guys add or nominate for Best Storyteller?
Okay, I have 2.
Okay.
And okay, they're both named Maddie. One is Maddie, you, of course, because
Me?
yes,
Me?
I did
Really?
your stories like you
What?
wouldn't even believe. And I did
Shut
it
up.
on my personal account and on the collective account. Sometimes they kill me. And then the second person I said, also named Maddie from Vibes and Voices. She is an awesome storyteller, and she puts a lot of really good value in those too. And those are my, whenever I see them pop up, I'm like, okay, binge immediately. Even if it's 8 a.m., I'm binging.
I love that. I'm so
That's
honored.
funny. Okay,
And
so
I need to check hers out.
Yes.
Sorry, continue.
So mine, I actually have two as well. One of mine is Maddie, and I'm not making that up. And I love that we're starting with this. But and the reason I'm nominating Maddie is because Maddie stories far more than I ever have in my entire social media manager career. But I do love the way, because I feel like you story in the same way, but you do it in different ways, if that makes sense. And I hope I articulated that right. But you like do like a get ready with me, or you talk about like what we're recording on the podcast, or you come with like a vent session, or anyway, it's always so good. So I had to like nominate you as well. And then I feel like my other nomination for this, because I love every piece of content she puts out, and so we've talked about her before here on the show, but I put Robin of Girl Boss.
It's literally, yes. And because I did it, I was like, wait, shoot. When you just read the category, I was like, I think I did this wrong, because you said Instagram stories. And in my head, I was thinking of her TikTok, but
Okay.
overall,
Yeah.
both, yes.
Yep. Because I feel like she does really great. She's a great storyteller, and I think Madeleine brings up a good point. Like, she's storytelling in her feed, but there's something about her and the way she talks about marketing and brands, and she really pulls in that nostalgia that I'm like, wait, she's in my head. That's exactly like how I would like picture it myself. So I feel like I had to nominate her for that. So
yep.
Yes.
Robin was mine. So
okay. Perfect.
That was my one.
Can we talk about how there's no attention span in the world, myself like at the top of that list, but you can still hook people's attentions and stories. That is powerful these days.
Yes.
Agreed. Okay, going on to the next category. And honestly, okay.
I was like, I want to start.
All right, our next category is Best Brand Aesthetic. Madeleine.
Okay, it should come as no surprise. Glossier.
Ooh, yes. That's a good one. Also, I don't know why. Why did I think, Madeleine, you were going to nominate yourself?
I mean, no. My aesthetics kind of dropped off, honestly. Maybe pass, but no.
I just think it was the way you led into that, but no, I agree. I think Glossier is awesome. So I think it's funny because mine is similar category. I put Glow Recipe. I think their aesthetic on social media is beautiful. I think they're one of those brands that do it in such a beautiful way, and it's very simple in how they like set up their feed, how they stick to the same aesthetics. I love it when it's very cohesive with their like launching of like new products, new ingredients. And so I'm throwing in Glow Recipe in for Best Brand Aesthetic. It's also my like, I'm now like rediscovering those like products in my like makeup cosmetic bag, and I'm like obsessed with them, and so I'm just fixating on them. So but that's my vote.
Okay, I went rogue on this one. I did this is for like our Tampa Bay people, but Hyde Park Village is a neighborhood in Tampa, and so it's like all of these different stores, all these different brands, but I feel like the way they pull it together in a cohesive feed.
That's where Oxford Exchange is, right?
No, a little bit different, but also very well say them too, but
yeah.
True.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good one. And I think that's a good point too, Harmony, that they're pulling in like so many brands, and that I think really takes a good kind of, it's almost like a craft. So I think about it with like one of our newer clients. They have a store with a bunch of brands in the store, and let me tell you, these brands some are really aesthetic, some are kind of crazy, some are kind of cool, but like to make it all merry and like work on the feed is a real skill. So that's a good one to nominate for that, because I think there's, again, a lot of like competing aesthetics, but they bring it all together and they do a great job at that. So
Yeah.
that's a good one.
Mm.
That's a good one. Okay, so the next category is most engaging feed.
Can I go first?
Yeah,
Yeah.
go for
Okay,
it.
I picked Duncan because
Ooh.
and to preface, I'm not a Duncan
I'm not either.
person.
I'm not.
Is- I think
Oh,
break a lot
wait
of
a minute.
hearts.
Am I the solo Duncanite on this
I
recording?
think
Wait,
it's
so
not
you
my
guys,
favorite. It's
are
not
you
my
choosing
favorite.
I
Starbucks
like
over
it.
Duncan?
Yes.
Yeah, or
Each
or
time.
like a local like
Yeah.
Same.
situation if
Yes,
the
to
option's
local.
there.
Yep.
But I think their social media manager deserves a raise 1000%, simply because of how engaging the content is, but also their comment replies are amazing. They're always so witty, and it kind of reminds me of almost like a sports team page in a way, where they create such a cult following because of just how witty and funny everything is, but also still very on brand for them.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one. I do like all of their like campaigns and their things they do. So that was like when I was thinking about like most engaging feed, like I was thinking about like who, like you said, like is witty and sometimes snarky and like the personality and like do they get their target audience. And so I put the brand is called Cann, and the handle is Drink Can, but their social media content makes me like laugh harder than I feel like I ever laugh at anything. It is borderline snarky, borderline maybe a little inappropriate, but it just works so much because I feel like that industry, so they're a cannabis infused drink, and so it's an industry that already has a big stigma around it, and so I think they just push the boundary in the best possible way, like up until that limit where it's like, okay, that's too much or too creepy. So, and that's a really fine line to walk when you're writing copy. And so I think their content is super engaging. I think they know their target audience so well, and I think they share great content that kind of gets around that parameter that Instagram and Meta set up to where you can't talk about, don't talk about cannabis, don't talk about this ingredient, don't talk about that. And so I think they do such a great job for that. So that's my nomination.
Okay. So mine is like, I feel like kind of unhinged. I don't know. But I did dude with a sign or dude with sign
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, yeah.
That's a good
because
one.
because I feel like, and it's if I'm thinking about most engaging accounts too, like I feel like I've read something where it's like maybe not statistics. I'm just yeah, that makes me sound smart. but But I feel like meme accounts. You know how meme accounts, like if we were to solely make a meme accounts do so well on Instagram because they get the most shares, they get the most likes, and to me, dude with sign, just it was a new take on memes, and it's just like saying everybody's thoughts, and you've started to see people copy his content, where it's like I've seen a few boutiques out here, like where it's like they do same type of thing. They like put it on a cardboard, whatever, and to like announce a sale or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's mine.
Yeah.
I was also just trying to think, because when you were talking about the cannabis, there is one, I'm trying to find it now, and I'm glad that we're doing these the announcements, like people can vote because it will give me time to think of it. But there is a and maybe you're gonna want to cut this out, I don't know, but like there's a lubricant brand like there, and so like I'm just thinking like in the sex positive world too, like there's one brand though that they're just like their content is so funny. Again, I can't think
Mhm.
of it right now, but once I do, I might throw that into the announcements.
Yeah. Oh, I kind of really I like that, but I like how we chose and are thinking about brands that like almost brands or accounts that almost have to like think out of the box to be
Yeah.
able to attract their audience. And I feel like more and it makes like my mind think for like even like our own accounts and our clients accounts, but like it makes me think like how do I get out of the box more to
Mm,
become more engaging and like get push the back and not be so literal. I feel like a lot of times
mm-hmm.
like and I know I'm guilty of it as well. Like we market so literally when we could maybe take the more meme approach or the more humor or relatability or kind of push those boundaries a little bit more. So I kind of like where we went with that category. So I think that was
Yeah.
good. And I'm so eager to see what our audience nominates as well. And so again, there's no, as you know, we've nominated so many different people in terms of people, social media managers, brands, businesses. There's really no wrong account to nominate. They just have to be an Instagram
Yeah.
account. So
Yeah.
that's the only parameter there. And I guess they have to have a public feed, so we can't have private because we can't see what they're doing. So next, our next category is most creative graphics. And I'm not gonna lie, you guys, I don't have one for this category because this one is hard for me. And I think it's because I'm do you ever notice like yourself like you are kind of like always like up leveling like how you create graphics or how you
Mm.
edit videos? So I think because I'm trying to think like what's my next step up, I want to do more in what I'm like creating. So I can't think of anyone off the top of my head, and so I'm dying to see what you guys.
Oh. Okay. Harm, do you want to go?
Yeah. Okay. So I did
Okay.
two for this one, and one of them is drink can because I
Oh,
think
funny.
as even I feel like as a product company, you kind of more lean towards product photography, but the way that
Hmm.
they implement in trends and memes and get creative with their graphics department is so good. And I also said Brit and Co. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Oh
because
yeah,
even
yeah.
though they don't have a product to feature in a lot of the graphics, they are so creative, and I always love when they pop up on my feed. So I said those two.
Yeah.
Ugh, okay, I feel like I was made for this category because I have a few. So my first one is glossy underscore zodiac. Again, it's very like I like their meme approach, but they always, because again with the zodiac signs, they like now you can obviously do 20 posts per carousel, but I always love them because they'll divide it up where it's like I'm trying to think like where it's like Gemini, how people see Gemini versus how Gemini actually are. And so they've done like, like the first maybe 5 or 6 of the zodiac. And then when you don't see yours, you're like, wait, where's mine? Where's mine? And so you go back to their profile, hence increasing their profile views. And so again, thinking like a social media manager where I'm like, that is genius. You are smart. So, but they always like out of all the zodiac accounts that I follow, theirs is my favorite. It's funny. I know it's just very well done. A second one is the Every Girl. I just think
Mm.
their graphics team does such a fun they do such a great job. Like, and to me, I can tell when a brand has a legitimate graphic designer on their team because you're seeing the illustrations or maybe it's not they have a graphic designer on the team, but they know to outsource it because
Mhm.
we all know where it's like social media managers, yeah, we kind of are like graphic designers too, but a lot of us are using Canva. But when it's like you have the skill set of illustration and knowing like the Adobe suite, like you're going to up level your content. And then the last one I have, it's Sanctuary World. And again, it's another Zodiac one. Theirs are more, they're like, I feel like the glossy Zodiac, like it's not aesthetically pleasing where the Sanctuary World one is. And all three of those accounts, I'll tell you now, like that is where I pull a lot of my inspiration from. I also love following those accounts on Pinterest. That was just a side note, but I don't think we talk about that enough too, where it's like a lot of these companies too, I feel like if you go to their Pinterest account, you see the social media manager like actually saving their own inspiration. So I'm like, feel like I'm inside their brain and I'm like, ooh, thanks for giving me the idea.
Right. Yeah. No, I love that. I love that part of Pinterest because I'm like, wait, they're gonna
Let
create
me
this. They created
uh-huh.
this. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yep. I love that. Okay, going into our next category, most creative collaboration. So I'll start with mine, and I have to say, I think in terms of original, not so much because it's such an obvious collaborations, but I think in terms of the creativity of what came from it and how they like orchestrated it and did it. So for mine, I did it's Baze and Delta. So Baze social
Mm.
team posted that again, Baze is a travel accessory and luggage company, and they posted that they wanted to take their marketing team on a trip, and so they did one of those really annoying TikToks like, hey, let's get to, hey Shay, how many likes do we need to go, to Bali or whatever the question is, and they they get it. And so they said, Shay said, okay, if you get, I don't remember the exact number, but 500,000 likes and you get an airline to sponsor, we'll do it. And so I think Baze and then Delta obviously coming in with that. But I think they did such a great job. I loved seeing the marketing team. Of course, I'm like selfish, like, love that the marketing team was on this really cool trip. I believe they went to Costa Rica and made it influencer style trip for their marketing team, who obviously is there creating content, but also, I mean, come on, it's still a vacation and it's really fun. And they've had a lot of really good, like, viral moments from it. So that's what I'm throwing in the ring for my nomination for most creative collaboration.
I actually don't have one for this one.
Ooh,
Which
okay.
I don't either. I felt
I
overwhelmed by this one because
yeah.
I literally do not hate any collaboration. I'm like, this is good.
I
It
feel,
has been amazing.
yes.
Why can't I
Mm-hmm.
select one? But I feel
Okay,
like
I'm go
anytime you can bring two brands together, it's always
Mm-hmm.
perfect in my eyes.
okay. Okay, I was going through my like saved on Instagram and this one just came up and at the time I was kind of like, I don't know. And it was Skims with Sabrina Carpenter, but now that
Mm.
Short and Sweet is out, I think I just her branding herself. I don't know. I like it now. Like, is that fair to say?
Yes.
Yeah, I like that. You needed some time to marinate on if
Yeah.
this really is gonna work. Yeah. I think that
Yeah.
that was good. Okay, going to our next category. Again, we'll have more nominations from you guys for that one, so no worries. Best use of user generated content. And I'll start with mine just to kick us off. So I put this is one of my favorite brands. Again, I love anything like baked good or anything. They're gluten free as well. Sweet Lorenz. I think they do such a great job of user generated content on Instagram and also on TikTok in terms of their products. So they're gluten free cookies and pastry dough. I feel like there's something else that I'm missing. And so it's just so fun to see the creativity of what everyone is making with their Sweet Lorenz, whether they're like, actually baking cookies. I know like the pumpkin flavor is out now, or they're using the dough to make like some really cool pastry. I feel like they just do such a great job of using that content to kind of share on their Instagram and TikTok. So that's my nomination.
That's a good one.
That is a good one.
I did the Every Girl for this one because I feel like even though their
Mm-hmm.
page is pretty broad, I feel like they pull in so many things that are so relatable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good one.
I did Airbnb.
Ooh,
Ooh, that was a good
that's
one.
good.
Yeah, that's who I did.
And that's that.
Yeah.
I think that's a really good one. Okay, going into our final category, best rebrand. So I'll start, and I'll just by say I have to put an asterisk on here. And so, as you know, Madeline and I talk a lot about rebrands, and I feel like that's always something that's on one of our feeds. And so I'll say, in my opinion, I don't have a rebrand that sticks out to where I'm like, yeah, I am fully 100% behind this. This makes sense. You got your audience, like you needed this rebrand. So either I just like can't think of it at this moment, or I just wholeheartedly don't believe that that exists in my world. So I will say that I chose out of all the ones that we've talked about here on hashtag manage before. And so what I think with that little asterisk for best rebrand, I put Veer Bradley because I went back to their social media accounts, and while I'm still not 100% behind it, I love it more than the others that we've covered and that we've shared about. And I have to say, I think they've really kind of evolved their feed. And because again, they've rebranded in a very subtle way, I think, compared to other companies that have rebranded, but they're still leaning back in. Like they still have those prints that people know and love for their product. And they've gone back and forth with sharing that. And I've been seeing a lot more positive comments on those posts than I have with other rebrands that we've kind of graded over here on hashtag manage. So that's my vote or my nomination.
I didn't have one. Because similar to what you were saying, like there really was not one that this year that I feel like has really wowed me. And maybe I just had, like, I'm hoping maybe you, dear listener, can share a few that were like, oh, yeah. Because just none have wowed me.
Mm-hmm.
But if I were to, I would agree with the Vera Bradley, though. That's been my favorite thus far.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Yeah.
Lily Pulitzer, no. I'm still scarred from that a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I I wrote down Poppy, but not be. It's a stretch because it's not a rebrand, but every time they launch a new flavor, I love that they kind of make their
Oh, yeah.
branding fit well.
And
Yeah.
like their grid changes a little bit.
Yeah. So
Mm-hmm.
mine's a stretch. I don't know about it, but
Mm-hmm. No, I like that because
No,
they
I like
changed their
that.
cover, their not their cover photo, their profile photo. They changed their highlights up. They really like
Mm-hmm.
go
yeah.
because now I know they're like really going into this darker, moody, which I think is perfect for like fall and spooky season for their new cherry
Mm-hmm.
cola flavor. So I think
Yeah.
that's a good one. I love when brands do that. I wish they did that more.
Yes,
Yeah.
especially when you have such that's I feel like that's how you know how you have such a strong core brand is people still
Mm-hmm.
recognize it even though you're changing these dramatic things,
Mm-hmm.
but people
Mm-hmm.
still know you at the core, and I feel like they just have that nailed down.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one.
OPI used to do that, and like they must
Mm.
that social media manager must have left because like OPI used to be like that too, where it's like they would go with like I loved it,
Mm-hmm.
but they don't do that anymore. So yeah, I
Yeah.
agree.
Yeah. That's a bummer. But okay, that's all of our 7 categories that we have. So I'll run through them again really quickly. So if you guys are listening, you kind of know. Best storyteller, Instagram story edition, best brand aesthetic, most engaging feed, most creative graphics, most creative collaboration, best use of user generated content, and best rebrand are our 7 categories for the hashtag managed awards. As you all know, we shared all of our nominations, but we really want to hear your nominations as well. So, subscribe to the Social Club newsletter so you can get access to that email when we send that here soon. Over the next couple of weeks, we'll take nominations, whether it be from yourself, nominate your best bestie, anyone who you know, any of your favorite brands as well. And then we'll all vote for our top picks for the hashtag managed awards. So, all right. Anything else before we close out? Or, Madeline, do you want to close us out for this week?
Yes. So, in case you haven't already subscribed to the newsletter, you should be sure to do that. If you want to leave us a review, that would be greatly appreciated. Make sure to join our free Facebook community if you aren't already in it. And we will catch you on the airwaves next week.
I love that. Thanks, Harmony, for joining us on
Yes,
this
thank
episode
you.
as well. We'll have to do it again. I'm gonna like.
Yep.
Yeah.
Easter egg.
Yes.
Easter egg.
Thank you guys for having me. It's so fun.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode. If you haven't already, hit that follow button, and if you really love us, be sure to subscribe wherever you are listening from.
And if you want to be one of our online besties, you can shoot us a DM over at #managed on Instagram and let us know what your biggest takeaway was from this episode. Or, you could also share all your deepest, darkest secrets. Kidding. But we mean it when we say you can shoot us a DM. We love building real, authentic relationships with you.